Hi, I'm Kabira, and I am an electronics recycler. But what I really wanted to be was a costume designer. I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia. I led a very comfortable young life. I used to take the train down to South Street with my friends, and we'd buy vintage clothes and get stuff pierced. And I used to wear t-shirts that really talked about my concern for the rainforest and had pithy pro-choice slogans like "Lego my ego," because it was the 90s. And I always really cared about things, and I would speak out about them. But what I really was doing as I went up to Vassar College and studied sociology and Spanish was dreaming of fabric and pincushions. And when I moved to Los Angeles in the year 2000, I cranked up my grandma Pat's old sewing machine and I got to work. But as my 20s rolled along, the world changed. 9/11 happened, and wars were waged, and John Kerry lost an election I really needed him to win. And I found I could no longer concentrate on hemlines and seam allowances. I started marching, and I started organizing. I had been activated. And then I met a man who would turn out to be the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, but when I met him, he was a city council president, a young one, and he took pity on a very angry young activist and said, "Ooh, kid, you are so mad at the government. Why don't you come see how it works?" So in 2005, I took a job as a field deputy for his office and the arts deputy, and all of a sudden I knew more than I ever thought there was to know about the realities of my East Side Los Angeles world, the 13th council district. And what hit me immediately and hardest were the crime stats. It seemed perhaps that all was not well in the hipster paradise that me and my friends were brunching in each Sunday. Young people, primarily young people of color, were dying of gang violence, and it didn't seem to be getting any better. And it occurred to me that if white kids were dying like that, it would probably be on the front page of the LA Times every day, and we would probably figure out a way to stop it. And then this happened. A 14-year-old boy was killed in front of his house in a gang-related shooting. And as a representative of the council office, I went to his mother to just see if there was anything I could possibly do. And she was young, and she was a single mom, and she barely spoke any English, and she was obviously completely freaked out. And I didn't know what to do, but the organizer in me kicked into gear, and so I went around to local businesses and community groups, and I was able to organize getting dinner to her family for 3 weeks after the funeral of her son, which maybe helped a little bit, but it didn't solve anything. And for me, that was the moment I felt my calling. I realized I didn't want to just help a little bit. I wanted to find solutions to this serious problem. And I knew I was going to have to reach way out of my comfort zone to do that. And I was going to find a solution in the unlikeliest of places, and that's where the electronics recycling comes in. But I'll get back to that in a minute, because first I had to really look at these issues of gang violence and youth and in our communities. And when you look at those issues, you run into two major themes. And the first is poverty and lack of opportunity. And the second is the American system of mass incarceration. It's a bad one. And I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty. There's people who have graced these stages that can do a far better job than I ever could. But what I'll say, what really hit me about it is that it is such a broken system. And for me, it's so broken because it is filled with poor people. It is filled with people with mental disabilities, with drug and alcohol addictions, and it is filled with people of color. The racial disparities behind bars are insane. The Pew Research Center did a study recently, and they found that at any given time, 1 in 100 people are incarcerated in America at any time. The highest rates are all among African Americans. So among women, the highest rates are in my age range, women 35 to 39. For African American men, if you are an African American man 18 or over, your chances of being in prison are 1 in 15. And if you are between 25 and 34, your chances are 1 in 9. that is so bad, it is also complicated, right? Because these are people who've done bad things. And I think what gets me about it is, okay, so they did something bad, and then we, as a society, have decided they should have a punishment. So we say, so you're going away. You're going away for 15 months, you're going away for 30 years, whatever it is. So they do it. They take their punishment, they do their time, and then 98% of them, they come back. People come back to their communities, to our communities, but we never, ever forgive them. They are labeled ex-felon for the rest of their lives, and these people, so many of them people of color, come out to face legalized discrimination, and in so many cases, it's almost impossible for them to find a way to legally work, and so many of them go back. And for me, this seemed like a place that maybe I could hop into, and I decided I wanted to create jobs for people coming out of the prison system, and this is where electronics recycling comes in. So around that time, I met a man from Indiana. He was an electronics recycler, and he was the first person who told me that electronic waste is the fastest growing waste stream in the world. So electronic waste is computers and cell phones and TVs and that drawer full of wire in your kitchen that you don't know what to do with. All of that makes up the fastest growing waste stream in the world. So that means that on this planet, we trashed 41.8 million tons of electronics last year. And that's a big number. To help you understand it, a ton is roughly the weight of one of those amazing old Cadillacs from the 70s. So we trashed 41.8 million old Cadillacs of electronics last year. The problem is that we only recycled about 30% of it, and this is a tragedy for a couple of reasons. One, because that stuff is toxic, right? It's got arsenic in it, bromated flame retardants, it goes into our landfills, it's leaching into our groundwater. It is not where it belongs, it needs to be processed properly. On the other side of it, this stuff is precious. It has our precious natural resources in there, gold and palladium and silver. Rare earth metals. Rare earth metals are what's in all of our hard drives. There are more landfilled rare earth metals than in all known remaining mineable deposits on our planet. We have blown up our mountaintops. We have made plastic out of petroleum. We've put it into our gadgets. The fact that we would chuck it back into the earth makes no sense, especially because it's a job creator. We can create work to process these things correctly, to recover their value. So here in America, we use 25% of the Earth's natural resources. And in a weird coincidence, we incarcerate 25% of the incarcerated people on this planet here in America. And for me, there's a correlation, and it has to do with discarded value. And it seemed to me that if I could tie these two things together, if I could employ the people that we have discarded from our society, employ them recovering value from these things that we have discarded from our society, maybe we could make a couple steps toward a solution. So around 3.5 years ago, I started a for-profit social enterprise, Isidore Electronics Recycling. We're down in Chinatown, near downtown Los Angeles. We are a small but mighty crew of 14, 9 formerly incarcerated, and we give people employment repairing, refurbishing, dismantling, and recycling our old electronics. And it is a very neat place. Last year, we processed about 450,000 pounds of electronics. It's like 225 Cadillacs. And it is an incredible place. Are there days where I wish I could go back and draft patterns and drape ball gowns in my Silver Lake apartment? Yes, there are. This is very hard. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. I want to quit a lot. But I think the reason that I don't quit is because through Isidore, I have found my way towards the little bit of a solution. I have found my way into an environment that is based in forgiveness, an environment that believes in redemption and transformation. I'll close with a story. We have an employee who had been with us a few months. He was doing amazing. He was doing great, and one day he messed up. He kind of went off the rails, and he sort of verbally attacked a colleague of mine, his boss. And I was furious. I was ready to fire him on the spot. I got real punitive. My colleague, however, who I'm very protective of, that was not her reaction. So we sort of paused and we brought him in and said, you messed up and you need to go home and think about it and come in tomorrow and do better. And you need to never do that again. And he went home and he came in the next day and you could tell he hadn't really slept the night before and that he had thought about it. And he came to us and he apologized to her and he said, you should have fired me. And we said, yes, that's right. But we didn't. And we need you to get back to work and do better. And it was so amazing to watch her have enough forgiveness to let him do that, to give him the space to learn from his mistake, to rise up and learn. So transformation is possible. Redemption is possible. It's possible for me, it's possible for you, and it is possible for the people that I work with every day. Thank you.